And we're back with me, Johnny McMurray, on the On the Spot Football Podcast with another really good guest, a really flourishing talent, but just never got to live up to the expectations for reasons that we're going to dig deep into. Aaron Smyth. Aaron, how are you?
Johnny, good to be here. Thank you, mate.
No worries.
All good. I'm doing well. Things are going well at the minute.
Good, mate. Listen, thank you for coming on. I've been torturing you probably for the last week or two, just about getting back into things and trying to get you on the podcast. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It's a real pleasure. Arsenio.
That's
what I remember.
Still, it's going there. It's going.
It's coming back.
I've got it.
It's coming back.
We've got that. No, the hackers have got the Instagram now.
Mate, just what I want to do is I wanted to get you on for a couple of reasons. Obviously, we played with each other.
Yep.
Back in the day, Cliftonville. Most obviously people know these things, but one of the main things that you're doing at the minute around mental health,
yep,
drugs, addictions, is something that I really love about you. I think it's incredible what you're doing on social media, all these different things coming out, sharing your story. So part of the reason I want you on is obviously to touch on that, to educate us, and the other side of things is to go through a really good career. Do you know what I mean? So where I want to start with you is I want to start by trying to sum up who is Aaron Smyth and who was Aaron Smyth as a footballer.
Who is Aaron Smyth? Do you know, Johnny, this day still I'm finding it only in the last period of the time I'm only finding out who I am. Because I didn't for a long time. I didn't know who I was. And I put on masks for any situation, do you know what I mean? During football was the only time I really felt alive when I was younger. Football put me in a place where like I sort of felt at everybody else's level, do you know what I mean? I could sort of match everybody on the pitch, and it gave me a real buzz that I sort of felt was missing in my life. And even today, I always feel like I'm filling the void, and football filled that for a period of time for me. And the memories I have, do you know what I mean, live with me forever. Like, loads of good memories are from football. But again, a lot of it's tarred from my own experiences of mental health and addiction.
When we talk about our early days, obviously I started my early days at Rosario. I fell in and out of it due to different reasons, and then finally got back on track, got myself to Cliftonville, and I think that's probably where I came into friendship with you at the time. But where did you start playing?
So for me, Johnny, like, growing up, I wouldn't say I was the best in my age group. Far from it, because when I used to go to the trials for Northern Ireland and all, I was never good enough to be involved. And I started off Newhill and then Grosvenor for a year. Back to Newhill again, under 15, sorry. And it's mad how I ended up at Cliftonville. I joined Cliftonville under 16 age group. A good friend of mine, Cricky Graham, still one of my best mates to this day. He was selected for a Cliftonville team that was travelling to Barcelona to play in a youth cup or something.
You fancy a wee trip?
And he went, believe it or not. He was picked before me, so me and him playing the same side.
Right.
And he was picked ahead of me. And then the pre-season after that, the under 15 team I was playing for, Newhill, that gets scrapped, and he tortured me to go and join with him because the two of us were best mates. And I was like, there's no way I'm good enough. Yeah. You were picked in front of me to go and play for a select team. I wasn't picked. Why would Cliftonville want me here? And do you know what? I fought the fear, and I went and I joined. And from there, and as soon as I played under a manager called William Carbell. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He actually was coaching at one stage last year for Crew's kids team or something.
Okay.
And he was brilliant. I swear to God, he played me as a sweeper, and I was like, Brazy, I swear. At that age, I swear to
fuck. Small Brazy.
Small Brazy. He did, like, he let me, like, nobody plays sweepers.
Yeah.
He played me in a back three as a sweeper.
Right.
And me, I
ahead of its time, or?
Ahead of its time, man.
Absolutely.
He ended up making me captain of that team, and me, I played with me, Paul Heatley, who else, Johnny Gertie, who else, a couple of others played in that team. We went to Barcelona a year after as well, and
yep.
Played an under 18 tournament and ended up winning it and stuff. But William Carbell, he gave me, so I was at 16. I went on to win Player of the Year and Players Player of the Year for that age group. And then there was players then pressing on for Cliftonville's reserve team and stuff. And I always think the stigma was there that I was too small, because I had won Player of the Year and Players Player for that under 16 team, but I still wasn't pushing on.
Okay.
And then obviously I went into the 18s then, and again, through 16 to I'd say 20, like the changes in me, football wise, growth. I was sorry for the language,
right.
but
no, right.
I was flying. You know what I mean? I felt like I was really, really improving to a point where I started to believe that I was getting chances. had a chance, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't through talent. I wouldn't say I absolutely worked my socks off, like trained harder than anybody I've ever known at that age, like a bit freakish. I think it was a bit of an
You were.
a bit of an addict in me then.
I always remember you a part of that team, and you were always shredded to a bone, and I was like, but I was a wee fat thing. I was like, what are you doing? Eat a burger, mate. Do you know what I mean?
I watched TV at night time, and I would have done sit-ups in my living room. That's hard.
There's no way I'd ever do that.
And that's the thing.
Wouldn't it?
See, addiction, sometimes addiction can be in you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can just be in you. And for me, I was always avoiding, because I hated who I was as a person.
Yeah.
So from a very young age, my behaviours were always to avoid who I was, to make myself look good.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? To give me some sort of buzz, and that's how it ends up ending with the bad substances. You know what I mean? Not just the good, healthy ones, but
At least you look good when you went away on holiday with your mates at 18. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
You were like,
sure ate it though.
you were cut or whatever.
But
But you were always so fit. It's one thing I always look back on now and be like, I never had that naturally in me. I was the heavier lad. My dad fed me Sunday dinners on a Wednesday. Do you know what I mean? I was eating roast dinners throughout the week.
But for breakfast,
this mental piles of gravy on it. Was honestly, it was like a massive concoction. I always remember going, geez, I didn't give myself a chance. But when you look back at certain people, you were like flying, so fit, so dedicated to it. And I was like, I wish I had that at the young age to be like, I could have kicked on.
I had it. I don't know, Johnny, where it came from. I think it was because of the pain, like I said, I felt. I had this freakish mentality. So driven at that age, like, and I didn't think anything that I thought was bigger than me.
Yeah.
I busted my ass to try and make sure I could match that some sort of way. I was small and I was weak, so I trained in the gym and I got myself as fit as I could. Pre-season with Cliftonville in the early days as well, the runs.
Yeah.
Like I lap people and that's
the waterworks and all, remember?
Like I used to lap
Probably
them.
me you were lapping, to be honest.
I used to just lap people, like, you know what I mean? And even sometimes go back, my brother was in jail one stage and I was trying to get the visit to see him, and Eddie Patterson wouldn't let me go to a visit. And he would say, listen, if you finish this run, I'll let you go. I'll let you go early so you can get there. I was going to jail to see him, and it's me, right, okay, can I take my phone with me? And I done the run and still lapped everybody with a phone to me here. And he was like, he ended up calling me, where you go, you wee...
Yeah, you can't like get out.
Get out, you know what I mean?
Don't want TV
Don't even want TV anymore, just get out.
That you probably weren't going to do it and you've just smoked it and you're like, right, I'm away, Eddie, look.
Yeah, with the phone and all against, and the boys now were laughing. The Cliftonville ones, they got a team. That was some team now when I think back, like Ronan Scannell, even, now we were joking beforehand, but even Dak and Davy McLendon, like you wouldn't put them two together as a centre half pair because they're lacking pace there, you know what I mean?
Oh, maybe we touched on last week. Davy on last week, and he was saying, he's like, you must have been the two slowest centre halves in the whole of Irish League history.
Like Ronan Scannell, right, was the first time ever when I watched football, I never looked at anybody and went, I want to do what he's doing. Yeah. Ronan Scannell was that man. Like Ronan Scannell made me so aware of my surroundings. Were like chasing back the keeper, heading back passes, perfect weights outside of nets, like outside of the periphery of the net. No, so it's not the keepers under pressure, all stuff like that. Ronan Scannell was amazing at it, and I think me and Ronan maybe playing for them a couple of years. Them two really done well. Like me and Ronan was
doing all their dog work behind. As soon as the ball over their shoulder, they're trying to turn.
Because I was a flag, you see, because I could go both ways, you know what I mean? And we're having George McMullen playing in front of you too, like Fran Murphy one day, George McMullen, Janty and Downey. Chris Scannell up front, but usually Marky Hamill or Kenzo or something like that. No, it was brilliant. Them boys, the more I look back now, it was a good say. Now, that team, they didn't win the league until actually I left. The more I think, so I left. I left in about 2009. I can't even really remember. But the year I left, they won the league. You know what I mean? And I took that team.
That was the first one, wasn't it? They done it back to back then.
They done it back to back, yeah. But that team that I played under, and the years I won Young Play of the Year, was in Team of the Year and stuff. They should have won. That team should have won awards. You know what I mean? They should have won more trophies, I say. Like, it was a great side.
See, when we talk about you coming up through Cliftonville as a kid, so you've touched on, you've went to Barcelona, some of the players, like Paul Heatley and stuff, Gowdy, I think he's still Belfast Celtic now. He's still a machine, to be fair to him.
There was a couple of other ones that played in that team that ended up having decent enough careers too. Mm-hmm.
But see, the likes of that, even that wee trip. So see that first year that you've talked about where you weren't involved in it, and you get it. Is that some sort of like, I'm driven, I need to be there next year? Or were you just like, I just want to go play, I'm in the team now, I'm in that Cliftonville setup and I want to see where it takes me?
And I think, in a way, because I had so much self-negativity in my own mind. Right? Everything that I was doing was a bonus, but it was like, once I got one step, it wasn't enough. I needed the next one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, me believing that I was never good enough drove me to get to where I was at in all them times. Like, 16s to 17s, I made my debut. I made my Cliftonville debut at 17. And to me, all them players were all men. They were fucking men, Johnny. I was still a kid. I was like, and I was a real immature kid. And then I used to think, my early days when I started breaking the Cliftonville team, Ronan Scannell was my teacher.
Right. Turn up at the weekend.
And he used to slave when I was in school and all. I used to tell it. And his dad, Ronan was my teacher, and his dad was my vice principal.
Right, okay.
And because it was such a mess around school, his dad used to come into my class, take me out when I was messing about, and just tell me I wasn't allowed to play for the school team. And that's how he punished me. But even his dad and Ronan, like, they were brilliant with me.
But in terms of that, even see the fact that you've touched on that and you've said that Ronan, you're playing with Ronan, right? So you're a 17-year-old kid, you've made it into this first team, right? Which is very difficult for anybody at 17 to do, right? Ronan's the other side, who's a very comfortable right back, playing left back, who mastered that side of things, all right? And then his dad's the VP.
Vice principal of school.
Do you reckon the Scannells had a wee thing for you where they always wanted to look out for you? They always wanted you to succeed?
Do you know what? Like, the Scannells are really, really good people, right? And see, at one stage, I had went, when I thought there was a bit of mistreatment there in my eyes. Cliftonville was probably one of the hardest periods of my life, because I should have had loads of good memories there. And for me, I don't really have many good memories, you know what I mean? Because I feel like I was always struggling.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I was always pushing against the grain. I feel I was a wee bit mistreated, maybe picked on a bit. And at one stage, it was getting too much for me. And I went and spoke to Chris Scannell and tried to get his advice on it. He was the club captain at the time. And I think Chris, to be fair to him, he was a Reds man. Yeah. You know what I mean? He was a Cliftonville man. And I think he was more interested in looking after the club and stuff than probably my benefits, but I definitely think there's more, even now in football. My experiences of what I went through there, I was able to help certain players, Liam Boyce, for instance. Yeah. Liam Boyce, I watched Liam Boyce one day getting out of a car, broken hearted, promising that he was never coming back to play football again because of the mistreatment he was getting. Similar to what I was experiencing years before. And I get out of the car with Barry Johnson was driving. I live about 1.5 miles, 2 miles away from Boise, and I knew he was struggling, crying on the back of the seat. And I get out of the car and walked Boise home, because at them days nobody opened up. No, everybody was just scared to speak. I know how hard it was for me. Yeah, there was no one I could go and speak to. And I knew Boise was struggling, crying on the back of a car with no one to speak to. And because I'd been through it a couple of years previous, I got out of the car, walked around the association and said to them, don't let this happen. Don't let that destroy your career, because I know when confidence goes and it gets that low, sometimes there's no way back. And I experienced that. For me, like, I've lost 60% of me. So I played 40% for the rest of my career nearly, I would say. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? 40% of the player, because everything I done naturally. But when I started to doubt myself, then everything was a split second later.
I still feel like that now. Even recently, whenever I was playing, I was very much based on confidence, and if I didn't have it, I was seriously no use to anybody. I could run around, tackle people and hit people, but there's something that happens to you when you're given like a confidence, an uplift. Somebody believes in you. You can do the maddest of things in football with a football at your feet if you feel like you're on it. Do you know what I mean? If you feel that you can do these things.
I used to feel most comfortable when I wasn't thinking. When football used to take me to a place that everything had happened ever in my life, or everything outside of me went away. Yeah. I was just in the zone. Yeah. And I never, like Tommy Breslin, God rest him, used to say to me all the time, you're a street footballer. You do things off the cuff that I don't plan to do and don't know what I'm doing. I just play as I see. Yeah. And Breslin loved that about me, because you can't teach somebody that, you know what I mean? That's something that's not unteachable. It's raw. And at times I was probably reckless and done things but it was penetrating. When you're playing football and you see somebody, especially like me being that small, just flying into tackles, like I would have took touches in my own box and done wee Cruyffs and passed the day keeper from 2 yards out and stuff like that, and took chances. You know what I mean? But like you say, when that confidence goes, them chances I used to take, they were no longer there anymore. Because when I did try them, when I did try them, I made a mistake because I didn't believe I was good enough anymore to do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
When we go back here to you saying about signing for Cliftonville, right? You've done that. You've made your way to the first team. Your first season, second season, you end up getting the Young Player of the Year.
Yeah.
What was that season like for you?
Again, it was in and out. Liam Fleming was Cliftonville's captain. He was a right back, and I was a right back, obviously. So I should have been playing. I should have played that whole year, and I didn't. Pre-season flying. Started the season, played the first 10 games, was flying, and again just took out of the team for no reason, and didn't play Johnny again until nearly, I always remember, 12 weeks. Didn't play for 12 or 14 weeks. I think after the first 10 games, Liam Fleming came back from injury, and he put Liam back in the team, and I didn't play him for 12 or 14 weeks, but didn't really play no reserve games or anything either. And I remember it was come Irish Cup game, and we were playing either Glens or Linfield. It was a big match on, and Linfield, I think it was, no, it wasn't, it was, may have been the Glens, and it may have been on Sky as well, or one of his TV channels. And he just put me in. Addy was the manager at the time, and he just put me in, and he admitted at that time that he made a mistake, I should have been playing, blah, blah, blah. And I went in and had an absolute stormer. Yeah. Just felt so comfortable, knew I had a point to prove, and because of how I was playing before getting into the team, even though 12 or 13 weeks out, that didn't really annoy me. And then I was brilliant. That game I was brilliant, and that kept me in for another load of games. And I think then the games after were big games. It was Glens, a couple of Sky games, and then I think it was Linfield at Windsor. Again, semi-final or something it was.
Yeah.
And I think if I remember rightly, we scored later on. We scored in the last couple of minutes of the game against Linfield. Again, I think them big games, because I didn't really believe that I could win an award like that in the goals on the streets, but I think them big games allowed me to put me in for a chance, because obviously the big crowds are there, journalists are all there, and they were the games I really excelled in. For some reason at that stage, I loved the pressure.
Yeah. The
bigger the stage, the better I performed, the better players I played against. You had Gary Hamilton on there. See, at that season, I have a cutout in the house. Gary Hamilton, full paragraph in the Belfast Telegraph, telling, more or less saying that I shouldn't be here playing football and I should be in England. And this is after we played the Glens during that season. You know what I mean? He thought I was too good to be playing in Irish League. You know what I mean? And I still think I have the paper cutout from that. And it was them big games, I think, really won me Young Player of the Year. Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't believe I was good enough to win it until I had that much self-doubt about myself. See, when I did win Young Player of the Year, Jerry Carlisle was just coming through as a football agent. And Jerry Carlisle played for McCracken's Gaelic team that I was playing for at the time. Okay. And Jerry Carlisle, I didn't know what a football agent was, because they were unheard of at that stage. You know what I mean? No one needed them. But Jerry Carlisle goes to me, listen, you just won Young Player of the Year. Like, you think about it, Johnny, see, after I won it, if you check our stats, it'll be, I think it was Boise, Nam again, and every player after that all went across the water. Yeah. So I was the one within a 10-year that didn't go on a trial, didn't go across the water. Do you know what I mean? And Jerry Carlisle said to me, listen, I can set you up trials if you want to go. And I says, no, where I want to go before? I'm not good enough, nowhere near good enough to play. And that's hard, Johnny. I wholeheartedly believed that I wasn't good enough. Yeah. And for some reason that was instilled in me. I had this negative image of myself, just a negative self-image of myself, which completely destroyed me as a person all the time, because even if I done something good, I found a negative in it. Do you know what I mean? And that was soul destroying for me.
Do you think that if you had somebody at that stage in your life who was there just to kind of push you in that right direction, to say, you got to realise that these things are going right for you? Like, you've got to this stage because of a talent, and then you've won this because you've done so well. And if somebody had been there to build that confidence up, do you think that things would have been different?
Johnny, see, I was thinking about this morning. I was thinking, do you know what? See, I think I needed to take the path I took,
right,
to get to the stage where I'm at in my life. Because, like I said, even before the drinking drugs, I had this negative self-image of myself. I hated who I was as a person. Whether that came from my upbringing and stuff, I don't know. But I had this negative void within me that I never felt happy. I never felt personally happy in myself. Football was the closest I got to feeling that void. And then when I lost that, then for me, it all went to shit. Barry Johnson, when I look back, Jonty took me everywhere. Came and picked me up at the house, brought my kids and all home for me every Saturday morning. Done his best he can. I spoke to you about the holiday I booked, so obviously with we had just played Copenhagen. We played Copenhagen in Europe, Cliftonville team, and again after winning Young Player of the Year and winning Team of the Year, Eddie had told me that I was second choice right back. So we played Copenhagen. Copenhagen beat us 7-0 or 9-0 maybe it was, don't even know, 7 or 9, and I'd played left midfield. The game was over, right? They beat us 7-0.
Yeah.
Glen Adams pitch in Warnerby. 7 or 9-0 they beat us. I played left midfield. A guy called Libershenko. He's only back from the European Championships. I'll never forget it. Just chasing him about like a headless chicken. So, well, I swear to God, just chasing him about, and it was just a completely different level. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm just running about here like a heck yes. You know what I mean?
Here, it really lets you know too, doesn't it? It's like there's a way bigger.
You go past the ball. You know what I mean? Me as a left, I was more or less tucked in as a left back, trying to help out as a back, nearly a back head. So when they were paying the balls, I was going, I can get that. You know what I mean? I can meet that in the air. When I was halfway there, I was going, I'm not getting this. You know what I mean? The balls, and you're missing it by about that much. That's hard good. They were just pinging balls flat, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, what a level.
It's a great insight though. I feel bad for people who don't get the experience of it, because it gives you a whole insight in our level of football. It's something probably alien to most people. Like whenever we went to Basel or a cruise too, and they went down 10 men, and it was like they were playing 11. It's just like, and you're like, we have an extra man here, can press, and there's like you can't get out.
Like you're big enough.
You know what I mean? And you're
for you, what was it like when you run into one?
Well, I remember at one stage Fabian Frey played for Switzerland. He was a captain at one stage, and the ball got knocked into the middle of the park, and I turned and knocked it past him, and I was like, I'm away. It was just me and him, and he just jumped in front of me. And I was just like, I was like, that's me.
I felt this all the time, I think, anyway. Anytime I went or touched him, any sort of part of my body touched him, I was like, what's that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What is that? It's just as solid as a rock. And I remember, I particularly back in my Davies, in my first game for Cliftonville, playing against Larne, and there used to be a man, Darren Armour, I think you call him.
Oh, yes, sir.
And like, I see if you ever look back at the photos, I'm about 7 stone wet when I make my debut. Like, that's why I worked so hard in the gym. I'm not joking, John. I think I was 70 kilos or something pre-season. Do you know what I mean? Whatever, 7.5 stone or something it was. And when I come on, he tried it back, and then I put my hand on his back, and he grabbed my arm and nearly twisted my arm and back. And I was like, but I didn't curse him, and I was like, happy days. And Dacky Horn was going, he's only a kid. Don't be touching him. And I was like, Dacky, just leave it. But I had this awareness of a football and where it was going to go. So if you think a Darren Armour coming on to me as a front man, their left back gets a ball, and I drop. I'm dropping to give that big space in front of him, because I can come from behind him for 5 or 10 yards and just smash him. That was my ends. So straight away, once I drop, Darren Armour comes, tries to pin me, leaves that big space in front of him. The fullback throws it in, and I run from about 6 or 7 yards behind him, just wallop Darren Armour straight up in this guy. And I had that about me. I had that aggression. For some reason, I could tackle people 2 and 3 times the size of me. For some reason, it gave me...
You loved it?
Oh, Jesus, it was like a drug to me. It just gave me this unbelievable buzz, and no one was bigger than me. It didn't matter the bigger they were.
You know, there's something about it too. See, when you do it, and the crowd goes mental, your whole spirit goes... Like, you're
class.
Like, if you're a team and you're getting beat and somebody hits somebody hard and the whole crowd gets up behind you, it's like euphoria. It's like, right, we're back. Do you know what I mean? It gives you a lift.
Did you ever play with anybody who you felt like had that about them? That when they tackled or when they done something, the players around them lifted?
Yes, Stephen McElorn was a big one. He knew when to do it and when not to do it. So when he played at Ballymena a few times and you're struggling, I think it was the first year we were trying to get into Europe, and he came and there was tackle, I think it was against Glentoran. It's come up the playoffs, and I remember him just hitting somebody, and you just needed the team to bust, and he was just like,
Mackers was brilliant at it.
And you're sitting going,
see if you refer to Mackers. See, Mackers, like, I played against people who I always tackle fair, right? I think John and I played about 70 odd games before one booking for Cliftonville. My first 70 games or something for Cliftonville, I think I only get booked once. Right. You know what I mean? And I tackled hard. Connor Downey used to call me a mini Mark Glendenning. I don't know if you ever know older boys and all.
Ross's dad, yeah.
It
was him and I think Pat. Is it Pat McShane? Two of them are very similar. Small, stocky. just through the back gate.
Oh, the buzz,
had a
like,
bit of nastiness about them.
There was just something about it. It made me just feel like even with everybody else, but being so small. And I had this thing where, like, I never let nobody feel me.
Yeah.
Because if anybody pins me or touches me, I'm like,
Yeah.
so throw-ins, no. Like, I used to stand close and then drop so I could get away running. And the amount of hitters and I used to win doing that was ridiculous because I was so late. I think I got away with hanging on top of somebody's shoulder for 5 minutes and then hitting it.
Flat on the back like a wee monkey.
Just hold on, though, or get up and they can barely even feel me.
Wee backpack on, you're sitting in the back of it.
But then, that you hard. I remember Darren Armour at that time, you snapped my arm up my back, and just to know that I was just leave it, and I was able to match him at that stage. I was going to let it be.
Also lets everybody else know in the team that he looked after himself.
Oh, aye.
Do you know what I mean?
And I think he and Darren Armour ended up coming off, and
Good.
I could get away. Like, I could do that. Before I could do that a lot of times, I done a lot of times early in my career when people thought I was so slight that they would want to push me about, and I never let anybody feel me. That was the problem. Big strikers didn't know where I was, you know what I mean? I was always moving left or right. Or I even played it down at Dungannon one day, and I had this thing with, I got so much of a buzz at a tackling that when I went in the tackle and the ball was still there, I'd get up and I went even quicker in the next one. And
you're wee 2 feet.
2 feet, and I got away with it all the time because it was really short steps, then bang, straight in. And there was a guy called Fitzgerald that was playing for Dungannon at the time, and I could hear Jonty shooting, no, and I'm straight into one tackle, the ball's about 5 yards away, and I'm like, I can see yes, no, I mean, I can get that, and I jump and I fly in it. And next minute I'm putting an ambulance on my way home, and apparently I was getting sent off now, and the Dungannon team was all crowded around me, and I remember just trying to walk on the pitch, stumbling all over the place, and he was like, the sub was made about 10 minutes ago. I think I was out for about 6 or 7 minutes.
Right.
Whatever happened, Fitzgerald went up and came down, and whether he done it badness or not, his elbow or his knee, straight in my temple, my head hit the dirt, no, the grass, and just bounced, and it must have been a heavy knock. And I ended up just remember coming around a bit and trying to walk back on the pitch, and it was Satan of it all there. And they were like pushing me in the back of an ambulance, and I was trying to come on and play. I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm just getting in the ambulance and go to the ambulance, not go to the hospital. But I had that freaky thing about me tackling. Like I say, it just helped me feel alive, you know what I mean? That buzzing.
But that's gone now.
That's what I was saying to you about players. See, from about 16 onwards, I felt that I could get a lift on a pitch doing certain things. Like, I always believed that I had a heavy touch, right? See, a fullback, your touch can be allowed to be heavy if you're quick enough. So I always get the ball right back and just drive inside or outside. It didn't really matter. And the touch was heavy. And I used to just spread as fast as I could. And then it was either 70-30 in your man's favour or else
I'm going to do that.
I'm going to do that anyway, you know what I mean? And that just, I used to feel, the Cliftonville fans, they loved it. Like, they used to look, so many times they were like, you feel other players, George and all chanting, because they love the tackle too. See, them boys, you could feel, you just feel.
The other side of it too is if you didn't do it, their reactions, they would have killed
Georgie
you.
Georgie was one of the best players that I play with in the sense as a leader and picking players up and around him. And see, for me being so quick and nimble, with the year I won Young Player of the Year, no coincidence, Georgie played in front of me.
Yeah.
I give Georgie a ball and I just sprint it forward. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like a rabbit in the headlights probably sometimes, but Georgie just put it in a channel or an area where I found the ball again. And then we and him worked the treat. Like Georgie was, because Georgie you think's never going to go, you give it to a winger and a lot of time winger's going to be direct. Georgie wasn't. Georgie just took a wee step inside and I would turn the outside him.
Allowed you to.
And allowed me to play again, and I was constantly involved. Like I said to you about that sports science, we got a sports science brought in from Cliftonville, and he used to check the stats of games, and I, for every week that I played, I was amongst top 3 touches, most successful passes for the Cliftonville team and all. I was like, as a fullback, like Barry Johnson used to say to me too, he used to say, at that stage when I came into the team, Cliftonville team, that I'd changed fullbacks. Yeah. Because other than Ronan Scannell, there was nobody else who played the way I played, you know what I mean? And the only person I sort of looked to at that stage was Jim Irvin. Yep. Jim Irvin, smashing footballer. Yep. And he's the only one when I played. I'd never watched an Irish League game, by the way, before I played my debut, before I made my debut. Never watched an Irish League game in my life. Didn't know no players. And players used to go, you need to watch this when we were playing against them. And I didn't know anybody because I'd never watched the Irish League before in my life. Do you know what I mean? But I would prefer it that way. Didn't know who you were playing against. And later on in years when it did start to occur, obviously with a lack of confidence then, it sort of affected me more, you know what I mean? It became a bit harder. But yeah, good memories all the same. Like.
Good. I want to touch on you winning Player of the Year. When you win Player of the Year, There's usually a Player of the Year
Oh.
award, sorry.
Well,
Tell me about that.
to be honest, yeah, see at that stage, we were always in a sorry with Michael Galt. As you know, Michael Galt's some
Bad
spaghetti.
news, isn't
I
it?
mean,
Michael's
it's just
bad.
spaghetti, man. Me and him drinking the car was probably a recipe for disaster. But anyway, we went to his house and drinking that blue wine, fucking blue WKD, and I remember going to the awards anyway, and I knew I was blinded. There was no chance that I could have barely even walked, and they called my name to win Young Player of the Year, and I tried to pull myself together to get up on the stage to go and get the trophy, and Jackie Fullen, I'll never forget, Jackie Fullen had announced over the awards dinner, he says, the first time I've ever had to help Young Player of the Year onto the stage. I was absolutely wasted, you know what I mean? I couldn't barely stand. Again, Ruth Gorman was there at me too, and that guy was in, she sat beside us for a wee while, and I was drinking everything there was. No way to give you free glasses of champagne, anything, and I was just guzzling everything. I was after being in Galty's house all day, and Ruth was beside me, and whatever I done, I kicked the glass of red wine, and she was wearing white, and you could just picture
the toe in red.
The whole dress was covered in red wine. I was scundered, but see, after that as well, that trophy, I give that trophy to whoever didn't know the trophy, because obviously you get a plaque and you get the ball, and I didn't know the trophy match. I mean, I didn't get the trophy back for about a week and a half. It took me about 2 weeks to find who had the trophy. Phoning Janty was on his whereabouts trying to find out what the trophy was. It shows you the care I had even then. Once the drink was in, the whip was out, you know what I mean? And I lost the trophy for about 2 weeks, the Young Player of the Year trophy, and couldn't find it. Just madness, even thinking back then. Like, the drink was obviously a problem even then, I didn't see it. But the good times. It was good memories all the same, do you know what I mean? I was privileged to go to them places.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, not many people get to be Young Player of the Year, man. So it's
100%.
definitely something you should be taking.
I joke a lot of the time, and I say to players, even now, the group I'm in, but we'll get to later on, the group I'm in now, and I would sometimes slag. Did you ever hear a story about me when Young Player of the Year? And I have a sponsor, you see him, a sponsor always shares it too, and he's a real joker, he's a character, you know what I mean? He gets it, like, but yeah, 3 times.
Where'd you go after Cliftonville?
Left Cliftonville. Do you know what? Tommy Breslin again, I'm going to speak about, God rest him. The trouble I had with conference ways with Eddie, and I didn't think me and Eddie just clashed. And I feel like it was a real torrid time for me, because there was me, and then there was an age gap. Next age to me playing at Cliftonville first team was Sean Cleary.
Okay.
Sean Cleary was like a man compared to me, so I didn't really. I felt like it was a bit of an outcast, because I didn't feel manly enough for everybody, or you know what I mean. And when Eddie had left, I had a few years of trouble, and like I said, Ger Luller actually had to come into a meeting one time, with me and Eddie, because I think at that stage that's when I knew I was gone, Johnny. I think my head was gone at that stage. For a chairman to bring me into a meeting, to see me bawling in tears and trying to speak to a manager about how I was feeling treated, or how I was ruining not just my career, but me as a person.
Yep.
You know what I mean? When football went, a bit of me definitely went too, you know what I mean? That's how I felt.
Yeah. I
felt like your world, obviously it feels like your world's crashing down, but to me,
that's all you care about at that stage. Football's your catalyst. You need that. Do you know what I mean?
That's all I had, and that was my life at the time, and it was hard. Do you know what? It was really, really tough, but Eddie went, and Eddie ended up going anyway, and Brazzy came in, and Brazzy put his arm around my shoulder, and Brazzy did try and help me, and give me a chance, played me all pre-season. Obviously, with Brazzy being there, I had the head down for that summer, and fit, thought I was playing well, but I always remember Brazzy taking me aside and goes, "What do you think the difference is between now and the way you were playing 2 years ago?" And I was like, "Oh, I think I'm doing all right." And he went, "Everything you're doing, and now you're thinking about it."
Right, okay.
You know what I mean? So instead of me playing just off the cuff,
you're in your own head at this.
I'm in my own head at this stage, which has been a problem for me all my life. But for a couple of years in football, I was able to play with a bit of freedom.
Okay.
And once the football gone, it was a catalyst to go find something else that was going to get me out of my own head near enough, because I just didn't have peace in the head space that I was ever in. You know what I mean? And it wasn't the drink and drugs made me in that headspace. I just had this negative self-image of myself. I just hated. I felt like I hated who I was as a person,
Right.
and only through the last couple of years doing the work is really when I've got an understanding of the self-hatred that I had deep within me for whatever reason. I just can't put my head on it. I can't put my hand on it. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of addicts have the same thing. It's a self-hatred within themselves, constantly trying to fill a void with something other than themselves.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It feels like they're anything. It could be anything. You know what I mean? Drugs, women, cars, anything, and just to try and give them a couple of moments of pleasure, calmness, or peace. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's something that I've had I wouldn't say the opportunity to experience, but with the mental health side of things, having my own problems, different times throughout playing, and now working with the lads and some of the lads that are in the league who have came to me for help with the project that we do. It gives you a whole different side to people. Luckily, I've never had the experience too much of it, especially the likes of gambling and stuff. I know how big that can be in football. And you see what it does to people, their families, how it affects their kids, their relationships. What state of relationships did you have at that stage, and how did that get affected?
The thing is, that at that stage, only my drinking and drug taking was probably lasting 3 and 4 days a week. It was 3 and 4 days on a binge, coming off it. But again, when you're off it, still not having no peace. But so it means you're constantly reactive to everything that's going on, constantly at a high stress level. So you think about it, me trying to spend time with my kids. Yeah. As soon as it dropped, so my glass dropped, spilled juice. It was, you know what I mean? It was bedlam because I didn't know how to live like a normal person. Like the smallest wee things set me off. Highly sensitive, so I couldn't really deal with them. And then again, to get away from it, the answer was drinking drugs. And like I was trying to say earlier on, Brazzy tried to help me and give me the opportunity. And when I eventually did leave Cliftonville, Brazzy did say to me, "Listen, I want you to go, get yourself sorted out." That was then. That was probably 2010 or 11 back then. So, and I didn't see I had a problem. Brazzy said to me, "I want you to go get your actor gear. Go to Distillery for a year if you want. And then it'll be here." Gerald Lawler told me the same. There'll be a club here for a year. I mean, if you're obviously doing the right things, and obviously I wasn't. Do you know what I mean? I went, and Tim McCann was the manager at the time, and I had Tim tortured. I think I swear I'm not even joking.
Tim's is the maddest guy ever.
I know, it's
so
hype.
that's an recipe for disaster.
Tim metal too. Like, don't get me wrong, I played 35 games or something for Tim that year. Yeah. But I had him phoned for some reason he had some affiliation with Doorman, or his mates were Doorman.
Right, okay.
And I was phoning him every Saturday, Sunday mornings, early hours, Sunday and Monday mornings, every week. He was my manager, but I had his phone. He must have blocked my number half the time at the weekend because I phoned him all the time. I just can't phone his phone. "Can you get me in this bar? Can you get me in this bar?" Because it was always a mess. You know what I mean? I was always looking to plan ahead. I was always trying to make sure I can get into all the bars. And Tim, I had him tortured. I absolutely had him tortured. But to be fair, at team ours, we were shit. Team was shit. Like, it's the late team.
So you got relegated that?
We got relegated that year. We really struggled. The first game of the season we played Ballinamallard, and I'll never forget it. Ryan Kern was only just, I think he made it promoted with them, right. Ballinamallard, and he played. And I swear to God, he absolutely tore us to shreds. We were shit. They beat us, stopped us 5 or 6 1. We knew we were going to struggle at that stage. Big Philip Hunter was playing. Yeah. Andy Simpson. Or Andy Hunter, sorry, Philip Simpson. They were playing centre half. Me right back and Trainer left back. It was mental. Trainer was mad too. Trainer was just gone home. Yeah. I mean, so you're defender, 3 defenders.
He's away. You're away too most of the time.
Oh, I know what I mean. So
you just left them two on their own. Like there's no wonder.
It was mental, but
how did you find Tim as a manager?
Team was matey, you know what I mean? He was matey, and I think
Tim's the good in between. I've said this before. If you have a manager and a coach, and then you've Tim, that going between the players and the manager, best guy.
Because I don't know whether it was pre-season or end of season. We went away with a Distillery team, and obviously by a stage he knew I was a lunatic, and he was like, "Right, you're going away here. No racking rooms, no doing anything, no, just keep your head down." I was like, "Right, all right." Obviously wasted. We're Scotland, we were Edinburgh. Wasted I was walking and just throwing the bags in. I think I threw my body up and just kicked it, volleyed it. It was literally in the room 2 seconds, and all I heard was smash. It was one of them, no high raised windows. and it hit the top corner, and the whole glass just went. Whoo. I was just like, oh Jesus, no, not over here 2 minutes. Only here 2 minutes. It's Jesus.
Pull the curtains over it.
Yeah, trying to pull the curtain to hate it and all.
Yeah.
I think somebody sensible, Ryan McCann or somebody, looking down the reception and saying, listen, we try to pull that window down and let on the window smashed. As well, don't want to.
Like the old-fashioned window.
Old-fashioned window. I was like, this is the way things happen. Like, you know what I mean? For me, anyway. But Distillery was a bit mad. It's just the relegation was we think we were well relegated with a few games to go.
You just knew like there was nothing really.
Down,
After Distillery though, you do go again. You make a move.
I'll go to Carrick. See, to be fair, when I left Distillery, and I don't know where it's just sure is, but we were already relegated, and I made a few phone calls anyway about the game not meaning much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was met the saying, we were playing Dungannon, Darren Murphy was a manager down there at the time, and he'd been phoning me days before and saying, look me the saying, and he was like, right, okay, come, I'll see you on Saturday and I'll get you to sign the forms. And I was right, though, I was going there last game of the season to sign for Dungannon, and Darren just blanked me.
Right.
He was like,
Murph,
I was like, what's going on there? And then obviously got wind of there was talk being done that I was gambling on the game because it was the last game of the season. We were going to end the season trip. But
so you game last, you're relegated.
We're relegated
like
anyway.
Anyway, do you know what I mean?
We're relegated anyway, but Don Murphy just didn't speak to me. I never heard no word from him again after it. But so then obviously Carrick went and signed for Carrick, or Michael Hughes. I think Michael Hughes was signed as a player at that time, was he?
So we were talking about this earlier. So I didn't realise this. Was on last week with Mac Linton, and I never knew that Michael Hughes owned Carrick.
But he was.
I never knew this.
I think at the start he came in as like, I think he's made a sign. I don't think he's signed as a player.
Right.
I think he's signed as a player. And again, he was trying to play 3-5-2 and all that season, and we had a good save. It didn't really work, you know what I mean? And we were decent enough we save, but saying good players and all. Big Richard Gibson, Ryan McCann, and who else played in that team? I don't know who was the manager. Davey wasn't the manager.
Davey wasn't, no. Would have been before that. Was Curry in before him?
No, it wasn't Curry. Definitely wasn't Curry. It was I can't remember his name. It was a fellow I thought he used to do something to do with blue training gear.
It might have been Michael then.
Michael and somebody else. Colin Telford.
Right.
It might have been Michael and manager.
So, because he
made a sign as a player.
They was just and he probably put him
player manager.
That's what he put himself in. Yeah. It's mad to think though that he would have came from that level.
You want to see him training though? He's still big, like.
Yeah.
Tell you what, he's a racking ball training too, kicking people left, right and centre. He goes, I love the wee kick at him too, like. Because he's like me, you know what I mean? Really stumpy, angry man, you know what I mean? Just from the way trying to kick people. But he carried that. You don't play at that level if you're not competitive. You know what I mean?
100%. Regardless where you go.
100%. He was in training, kicking lumps out of people.
So how long were you there for?
Carrick, I spent a good 5 or 6 years there, Carrick. So Michael Hughes, the manager. And then I can't remember, Johnny, I don't know why, I can't really remember. But listen, I was mentioned a couple of times to Lee when I was been speaking to you about a lot of times in football. There's been times where I should have known things have gone too far. There's definitely a problem. And we call it before this, like hitting rock bottom, right? So
like your low point.
Your low point, right?
Okay.
So the rock bottom that I got that made me stop using was nowhere near as bad as how I felt these times in football, letting people down, right? So the Carrick team again playing, still run about like a maniac, and the relationship and all was in at that time was toxic. It was just not good for me and not good for the girls with, and throughout Christmas Eve, and I stayed on the drink Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, day after Boxing Day, and we didn't play the day after, and I hadn't slept, and I had a cheek to turn up. Now, don't want this to ever come across as gloating, but it was one of the most embarrassing things that I've ever went through in my life. But it shows how far gone in my head was to try and turn up for a game like that. I turned up with no Carrick gear. Jody Lynch was my mate. Me and Jody were best mates. Jody was Jody's now in clean as well. Jody was an alcoholic. Jody organs and all field, and you picture me and him together like petrol matches. So mental.
Ready to rock. And you would have been the guy at Cliftonville.
And I helped him, believe it or not. I was the one helping him half the times, or most of the time, trying to get him the games. But this time, or this Christmas period, I had no boots, couldn't get my boots, couldn't get my training gear off. And Jody lent me a jacket, and I went to the match, and we were playing Lauren, Davy McAlennan's Lauren. Davy was the manager, and Michael Higney is Davy's mate. So I'd already been out 4 days, and Michael Higney, Davy's mate, was in the bar on the 4th day that I was out, and he told Davy. Right, so Davy knows that I'm coming to play a match. On one, 4 or 5 days, no sleep, and I can't remember who it was he played, but we sent to the ball, and a couple of our boys know when I say don't play me the ball straight away. Right, so obviously we sent to the ball, and big Glenn Tiger to play for Carrick at the time sent it and plays it straight to me at right back. And no sleep 4 days, just taking all sorts of drugs for 4 days straight, right? And I go to open up and letting on to put the ball down the lane, try and Cruyff, fall over myself and all. And Davy puts his quickest player.
Straight in there.
Straight left wing, spread to Aaron Smyth. You know what I mean? I try to Cruyff and fall over and all night, near break away and score. I played nearly 75 minutes that day. How I played. Gary Haven, better still, it was Gary Haven's first game as manager.
Right, okay.
And I played that game, played about 75 minutes. Gary Haven had no clue whatsoever. But Haven played in the team. He was our interim manager just at that time because he was a player. And I tried to play, and eventually after Carrick found out.
Yeah.
And that's why I went, obviously, from having the contract, getting paid. And Gary Haven just got the job to the point where Carrick didn't even want me. And at that stage, I thought I could never feel any lower in this. Because I went from young player of the year, been in team of the year, Cliftonville, and then relegated with Distillery, and then the Carrick, and then even the Carrick in the championship, they don't want me no more. So I was like, what has my life turned into? And at that time, don't get me wrong, I wasn't suicidal, but it was like what's my purpose in life? You know what I mean? I was already starting to feel that depressing down about things, that my only way out of it then was to continue doing what I was doing. So, so Carrick found out and didn't want me anywhere near the club. Told me I had to go, and Gary Haven, for him, another manager who's trying to help me, put us in the chat board saying, "No, this wee lad's got problems." Everybody could see it but me, Johnny. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody could see that I was struggling, except for me. Early days, Jonty tried to help me all the time. Jonty tried to get me to make good decisions. Couldn't do it. You know what I mean? I wasn't capable of doing it.
Just too headstrong at the time, being like, I'm sorry.
I can do this, I can do that. And Gary Haven ended up, which still, me and Haven are still close. Like, put his head in the chat board and said, no, he has problems and I'm willing to stand by him. He can cut his wages and not pay him anymore. But I was that embarrassed by what I had done. And I got away with Johnny so many times before, turning up, playing, drinking nights before, even drinking the mornings of games, and then going straight to games and getting away with it. But this time I was found out, and obviously it was painful to go through it. But I told Gary I didn't want to come back anymore. I was finished for football, and he said, listen, no, I understand you're struggling. I'll put your head, go away, 5 weeks, get yourself sorted out. And my way of dealing with things was train. So I went away for 5 or 6 weeks and more or less put myself in a 6-week training camp. That's what it was like.
Okay.
You know what my way I trained anyway. I trained like a machine for them 6 weeks, put the head in, train as hard as I could, sprint, hill sprints, steps, you knew it, everything I was doing, legs, squats, everything. But my head wasn't out, Johnny. When I came back into that team, Gary couldn't play me. My head was still gone. I couldn't believe what I was still doing. I felt embarrassed about everything that was going on. And for Gary managed me brilliantly. Give me about 7 weeks not playing, and then gradually fed me in, playing me as a sub. Ian West was playing at the time, good mate of mine as well, playing right back. And Haven stand by me, give me this overwhelming thing, like somebody actually likes me. Like, I don't know what it was. I maybe missed something in my life where I felt like I needed somebody to stand by me or be there for me. And he haven't done that for me, and I felt like I owed him some. And I put the head down for him, finished the season, probably the best I've played, and best I've played since Young Player of the Year.
Okay.
That was I started to feel like,
I'm back.
I'm coming back here.
Okay.
The first time I enjoyed football in maybe 9 years, from I left Cliftonville. From Young Player of the Year, the first time, when I won Young Player of the Year, the rest of my football I didn't enjoy. I played for the money. Simple. That year, there no money involved, Johnny. Then last load of games, I felt like I was starting to come back. Yeah. And it was only through pain. I say when you feel pain, you grow. Right? That season I grew, and I felt like I was starting to become the player. 80% of the player was. And But finished that season, went in the next season again, off a drink. Probably got a 6-month period here where the drinking drugs gone. And in the pre-season, flying, Aaron Harmon happened to pick up a big injury, and Gary Haver made me captain.
Right.
And where my head was at that stage, and where my head goes to all the time, is I'm not good enough for us. And took me a wee while to acclimatise to being captain, because I didn't feel like I was deserving. Anything good, I don't feel like I was deserving it. That self-hatred I have deep within me. I don't deserve this. Why am I captain? Didn't believe it, and that's God's honest truth. Starting matches now made me even more anxious, more nervous. It took me a wee while to settle in it, but eventually I thrived with the pressure of it all. And Haven just seen a complete different person to me. And that there was a catalyst then for me. That Carrick team, we ended up being a treble. Done the treble with the Carrick League Championship, intermediate in Steel and Sons, and I scored a wonder goal Christmas Day for Courteous Skies and hit it at Seaview, edge of 18, so I hit it the edge, committed a sky, and I just hit it edge of 18, the corner of the edge of 18, into the far top corner. Absolute screamer. And got promoted that next year. Them 2 years after were Carrick, we stayed up last kick of the game of the season.
Oh, that was the 1 point thing.
Miguel changed
scored
overhead kick.
Devastating time at us.
See them times as well. Staying up through relegation was as good as winning.
No, it is 100%.
Do you know what I mean? It was as good as winning.
See, when you're in that sort of fight, and you know that there's only one option, and it's to stay up, or you get relegated. Everything's on the line, like. Do you know what I mean? Because we done it 2 years ago with Ballymena, and you're in this slump. You can't get out of it. The pressure's on, and the last thing, especially for the last 2 years, is I didn't want to be a part of a team that relegates Ballymena. So my head was gone. I was injured, and I was like, I can't be a part of this. Like, I don't want to be at the club that I love. Relegated here. Do you know what I mean? Horrible. So staying up is great. The only problem is you got to stay up. I got relegated with 1 point that day. So
you were playing with 1 point?
I was still playing for 1 point. We get cheated out of it. I was that referee to say. It was wild.
It's wild. Miguel changed overhead kick. We were bad. Like,
last minute.
It was madness. Absolute madness. See that Carrick team. No joking. I'm still in the group chat with Williams. Like that Carrick team, absolutely unbelievable spirit amongst the team. See that year we done the treble. Gary Haver, and you probably heard him. Sure, he was on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about one of the games we played down at Derby or something.
Right.
Well, it didn't have enough players. I think we started with 10 men. Stephen Mills used to be an ex-goalkeeper. Millsy's mate, or Gary's mate. And I think Millsy started either out. Did he start in Nats and made it start at Nats? Don't know. We started with 10 players anyway. Bam Mason wasn't enough. We were depending on Bam Mason, and Bam Mason hadn't arrived home yet on a flight. Okay. So Bam Mason was getting off a flight and driving to Derby. We were starting a game with 10 men, hoping he was going to come. And if you Derby's pitch is below the road.
You have to go down.
So we're all playing and we're watching for Bam coming. Eventually you can see Bam coming. We jump out of the car.
Get in that.
See, Bam Mason must get on the pitch about 2 minutes. 11 players will have happy days. 2 seconds later, one of our players sent off. Straight away on the.
Straight back 10.
We must have won. See that season, no joke. We must have won 1-0 about 15 times. Like scraping wins, pulling wins out of nowhere. Like, you know what I mean? But that I'm still in the group chat with all them boys. It was just a great change room, I think.
Yeah.
And look, good load of boys there. Even Miguel Chains, Miguel Chains scored some really, really important goals. You know what I mean? And even though Miguel wasn't an ice league footballer as such, technically, you know what I mean? He had that wee finesse finish and all. Miguel was actually done really well for our Carrick team. He was a good player as well. Mm-hmm.
Carrick does well for you. Obviously, you just touched on that. You're feeling like you're back. You're the captain. You're back to your best, but you move on again.
So obviously, like I said, I got that period, maybe of 6 months. To be honest, after doing that, from the end I got to move to Glens, I was in a good place.
Yeah.
I was in a good place, and I hadn't been drinking. And Tiernan and Seamus Lynch were managers to Glentoran, and they came and said to me about signing for them. Believe it or not, this is the name that I had for myself.
Right.
Tiernan and Seamus going, listen, before we have to sign you here, we want you to do something. And I was like, what is it? Right. We're going to sign, get your written contract here, and you have to see it. The partying stop. And I was like, I said, I'm off. And at that time, because I promised Johnny, I promised my kids, I promised my missus, and promised my family that I would stop doing what I was doing. Because I did mean what it.
Yeah.
From my wholeheartedly, I wanted to stop. I didn't want to be that person no more. But I just couldn't physically stop myself. So obviously 6 months or so, whenever I got off the drink, and pre-season with the Glens, I was going on holiday for a couple of weeks, and I trained every single day for them full 2 weeks to make sure I was fit coming back in, and still again off the drink. Didn't really drink in the holiday, 2 weeks of holiday, and get into the season, and as the season started, I think things started getting rocky in the house again, and I started to delve again on the drink and the drugs, obviously, and it was coming up the end of August, my birthday, and 25th of August is my birthday, obviously, and we had a game. I think we had a game on the Thursday or Friday night. My birthday was maybe the Wednesday.
Right, okay.
And so obviously I didn't turn up Wednesday night with on the drink. Didn't turn up the Thursday, didn't tell anybody. Club obviously got wind that I was out partying, and didn't go to training on the Monday. So you think about it, I started on the Wednesday and I hadn't been home again. I was in the Sloans on a Monday night. Monday night I was still in the bar. No sleep, you know what I mean? It's mental. And I was on the phone to one of the players and asked them what's going on. I'd heard there was a drug squad there on the Monday night, and I turned up on the Tuesday, and down there at the peasant thinking, oh, everything's fine here, nobody's about, and nobody knows anything. And within 2 minutes, I just hear your name being called, and you go in, and that was me, and I had to leave, you know what I mean? I had to leave. And, I said to you about the rock bottoms, and that didn't feel like a rock bottom to me, Johnny.
Right.
At that time, I was becoming emotionless. I was becoming numb. I was becoming numb to any sort of hurt, pain, love, everything. I couldn't feel anymore. Right. And looking back, I only understand that now through the work that I do. I couldn't understand why that didn't annoy me. It was, see, the test showed up that I was 18 times over the limit of what I shouldn't have been taking. 18 times over the limit. So it shows the extremeness of it, what I was doing for them 4 or 5 days that I was out. And again, it wasn't enough to stop me, Johnny, to be honest. It wasn't enough to stop me. I wish at that time that I'd seen it all for what it was. Like I said, the people used to snatching to me, you need help. I didn't see it, didn't think I needed it. I thought I was still having fun. And none of it was fun. It was always false. But so, yeah, I ended up, because it was September time, October, because it was nearly September, October, and I couldn't sign for another club. No one knew about all this stuff, you know what I mean? Nobody knew about it. So I was able to go and sign for another club. Davey happened to be the manager at Carrick, and Davey asked me to come and sign, so I went and signed. And again, the first game I was supposed to play, Davey doesn't even probably know us, so Davey, you're listening. That's the reason why I didn't turn up the first day. So Davey says, I remember just looking at that phone of mine and thinking, he's phoning me here. I'm obviously meant to be playing today. But I was on the drink from Christmas Eve. This was Boxing Day again. Right. And I'm like, it's phone straight off, turn the phone off, Davey ringing me. And then just let on that I didn't know that I had to play, because the day, so went no, hold on, it wasn't New Year's Day, it must have been. So the deadline.
So you were allowed to play? So
then, when's the deadline? New Year's Day, you're allowed to play. So obviously New Year's Day game it was, and I'd been out obviously drinking for the last couple of days, and I just must have forgot. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyway, Davey just phoned on my phone, and I just turned the phone off and just went to training. I didn't go to training until probably the Thursday after, and I was like, I didn't know I was supposed to play. I just winged it. I just completely winged it. Says, I didn't know I was supposed to play. No one told me I was playing. What do you mean? You're meant to report anyway. Yeah. You turn up. There's a game. And now you have to turn up to the game, even if you're not playing. Just saying there, come to a match. And didn't turn up anyway. And Davey sort of probably knew what was going on at the time. And again, Davey tried to look after me. Put me in a team. Every time I was back playing, he played me. Yeah. And to be fair, I was still getting by and doing all right. Yeah. And again, I was letting them down, and then promising everybody again that this is the last time I'm doing this. It's the last time I'm doing this. I don't mean to do this here, and it's the last time I'm doing it. And every time I just kept letting people down again. And Davey just kept trying to help me out. Davey understood where I was at, you know what I mean? And so yeah, I remember that year me and Davey had a bit of an argument, I think, in the change room. Me and him ended up going head to head and all. I was calling the names and all. to be fair to Davey, like that's the type of person Davey is. He expects that from players.
Yeah.
He expects players to have that sort of winning mentality and aggression, and that edge made him coming off a pitch and he ended up a wee bit of hanging. This is the type of Davey, like I said, even when I done things wrong on him, as long as he seen me doing the right, I had this thing, Johnny. If I didn't turn up this Saturday or if I knew I was in trouble, I showed up about half an hour early on a Tuesday and just done runs. So everybody could see me. It was just, you know what I mean, the counteract what I was doing.
I'm still here, like.
And it worked every single time, but if they see me doing enough, they put me back in the team.
Yeah.
And it's probably just pulling the wheel over everybody's eyes, but that's exactly what I done, you know what I mean? And Davey, again, even after me and him head to head or shouting, screaming at each other, still put me in the team, still played me and understood why I was arguing. I was a winner, I wanted to win.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And two of us were similar personalities, we were winners and we wanted to win. And by me and him arguing, fighting with each other, it didn't really matter much. He still knew it was a player I made it, he wanted to get out of me, you know what I mean? And I got to the stage where towards the end of that season I was letting Davey down again too many times that I wanted to, and it gets to the point, Johnny, where you're burnt out, you're completely burnt out trying, you know what I mean? And you have to take into consideration other people's feelings and job, right?
Yeah.
So
because your relationship with him's probably
decent enough, you know what I mean? And him a good relationships.
You've played with each other a couple of times, but you know, as a manager, and then it's getting to that stage probably where you feel
it's
like
too much pressure.
We're going away now, like from what we were.
It's too much pressure for people like that, you know what I mean? And again, it happens later on if you get to the Distillery days after. So I left there and go to St James's. So I felt like it was too much pressure for managers to keep putting me ahead of other people or players, and I was too embarrassed about it all, Johnny. I had a good heart. I was a good person. I want the best, but I just wasn't capable. Yeah. I was given the best I could at that time, and the best I could was coming every now and again and having them benders. It was my only way of coping. You know what I mean? Would I have done planned something else for myself had I not been drinking? Because at that time, it was the only time I was getting enjoyment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did the drink and the drugs keep me alive or give me some sort of enjoyment for the periods that I wasn't happy?
Filled that void.
Filled that void until it didn't anymore. Like, but again, then I left there and went to St James's, and again it got worse again. St James's couldn't turn up for them, and to the point where I was going 6 and 7 weeks without showing my face, and then I was trying to go back into the team, and me, Sean Patton, they're real St James's boys, like to the point where the manager can't put me in the team, and Sean Patton told me over like Aaron Smyth can just do what he wants and walk back into the team. And I've never heard anybody in all the years I played football saying that. And I remember running around the pitch that night and just feeling probably like I always felt, like the loneliest person in the world, even when I had a crowd around me. Yeah, I always felt so lonely in my own head, and I didn't.
And they are two figures there. They run the club.
They sort of help. They've been there from day that scratch, and they care for the club, and
it's where they're from. They grew up there. That's their team.
I was coming in, playing Irish League, coming down, expecting big things from me, and I was pissing their pockets more or less. That's what I was doing. And I didn't mean to do these things, Johnny, but it was where I was at. I couldn't do any better. Yeah. It was the best that I could give. And I remember running around at a training pitch and getting in a beach mount there and just hearing them and saying, Aaron Smyth can do what he wants to be a manager. And I was like, that's me, I'm done, I'm not coming back. And one of the boys, Big Martin Twin, came around and stuck his arm around my shoulder. And he said to me, never mind him, it's FM's, just get your head back down and get clean and get yourself together. And at this stage I went, there's a guy, Damien, the chairman, he was something to do with your man Billeraki. Right. And he sort of openly said one day, if anybody needs any help, come and speak to me. And at that stage I went and tried to get help. Asked him, could he get me help? And
is this the first time that you go and try and get help?
It's probably around about this time. I don't know. I went to counselling a couple of different times. And actually the first time I went to counsellor, I swapped that counsellor because I didn't believe what the counsellor was telling me. He was not telling me. I done all the talking, and I thought that he should be giving me some sort of healing powers to fix me. That's what I thought. You know what I mean? Yeah. So me doing all the talking, I was like, he's not doing many good. I'm going to a different one. So I jumped from counsellor to counsellor. And don't get me wrong, it made me feel better and becoming more aware of myself and understand what I was seeking in other people and all stuff. Like, I had a terrible tendency seeking behaviours. Like, even when I was drinking, I had to be the class clown. I had to be the centre of attention. When I was with my missus or any of my girlfriends, clingy. I couldn't let them go to your shake, clingy. And, you know what I mean? It was just madness. But Yeah, so I want to try to get the help there. And went to counselling loads of times. Helped me a bit, yes, 100%. I would never knock counselling. It's good for people to go on their stuff and get help. Counselling will never be able to tell you what's wrong with you. It's up to you to find that out. But it was a good start for me, I think.
Yeah.
Became made me a wee bit aware of who I was and what I was feeling. But again, it was only a matter of time again before
It happened again.
like the same shit 6, 7 weeks, and then I was back to square one. And every time it was just getting worse. The pain was getting longer and longer. 5 and 6 days, drug taking was getting more. And I think around about I started to dabble in and bits of crime here and there to try and be able to cover what I was doing, to cover the habit. You know what I mean? And you think about it, I have kids there. And puts a fear of God in me now to think that I was going to do certain things to put them in trouble. But that was where I was at. Like, I didn't really have a thought of the dangers around my kids or what danger was going to bring me in. Eventually, I end up death threats and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Through that was where it took me to. It took me to a place where I had death threats and I had my kids with me. Most times, a lot of the time. Do you know what I mean? What if somebody was coming out to hang to me with my kids there? Like I'd never been able to live with it. Do you know what I mean? It breaks my heart. Even now, I think of it, it wells me up a bit. But that's what a drugs took me to. You know what I mean? It took me to a place that took me to hell. It took me to hell. You know what I mean? And football was the only thing that I latched onto to try and give me some sort of break. I don't know where I would have been if I hadn't been for the football. Even though I kept messing managers about, if I hadn't been for the football, then I wouldn't have put him. Could have been dead a long time ago, or could have been a lot worse. But I think after that, Distillery and St James's, sorry, I got the appointment. I was like, great, I just can't do this no more. Chanty got the manager's job at Distillery.
Yeah.
And again, I'm adopted by Chanty, and same sort of situation. Chanty wanted to help me. Knew I was goosed, and he was trying to help me and kept trying to play me and all. But again, Chanty's my mate and he's my manager.
Yeah.
And when a club sees someone like me not showing up for weeks on end, and then him playing me,
Questions start.
Yeah. Not that maybe questions weren't asked, but for me they were. It shouldn't be happening, and it didn't really feel right. It didn't feel right for me. I wasn't happy about it, and then I jacked the football in again. You know, I just jacked it in, and obviously we're no football in. Drinking and drugs just took over, and like the amount of times that I was letting my kids and all down, and just constantly letting them down. I had to pick them up at certain times and just not showing up for them, or getting them, having them in my company, and running out of the bathroom while they're there, and not really paying any attention to them, and even drinking, driving them about sometimes, or trading them about in the States. They probably did know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's not nice to even to think back now. I have a lot of shame and guilt around that stuff. Do you know what I mean? But I'm doing the best I can today, which is the only way I can heal it. The kids don't have an understanding really of what was going on, and I try to protect them as much as I could at the same time. But I did put them in some terrible situations, and even in the job front too, I probably went through about 13 jobs in the place. It's period of about 6 or 7 years. Christ, about 2 or 3 vans. Christ, in the motorway, had a lorry at 70 mile an hour.
Right.
In the motorway. Fell asleep. I think I fell asleep. And I must have swerved left, and a lorry carrying a couple of cars and stuff with a big back end on it. I obviously was coming left. I was in the outside lane. He was coming in the inside lane. And I must have swerved left, hit the back of him. And he didn't feed me, he just drove on. And the whole van was rolled off. It was a 3-seater, but the 2 seats were squished right in beside me, and the front wheel of the van and all was off, and I was just wheeling along the motorway, and I just took a chance by turning off. And I got away with that too. Like, again, you think, rock bottom, that should be it. I shouldn't do it anymore. Exactly a week to the day, same situation, on and all weekend, try to jump the van on the Monday. And only that fear of crashing that day, the fear and the thought of losing my kids, stopped me getting in the van again. But not to say that I didn't do it again months later, because I did. But just for that 1 week, I could remember enough pain just to stop me for that instance. Yeah, so it was tough. It was tough at all them times. Like, looking back, I'm oblivious to everything around me. Like, everything around me doesn't matter anymore. It's like just one-dimensional. Partying, drinking.
Yeah, going back in between.
Do you know what I mean? No in between is.
Yep. You talk about your career there. all the people that you play with, the relationships that you have on and off the pitch, and you've hit your rock bottoms 2 or 3 times. At what stage do you get to, or when do you get to the stage where you seek proper help?
Like I said about the rock bottom stuff, like the scare of Christ in the van and near killing myself should be enough.
Yeah.
And it never was. And towards the end, for me anyway, I used to be able to act and get all the attention they needed. Well, from being a class clown, being in parties, acting Jack the Lad, money, cars, all that stuff. I could have all that, and I still wasn't happy. So eventually your world starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay. All this stuff you're reaching out for is not making you happy anymore. Money, cars, drinking, drugs. None of it's making you happy. Like I said, he had a death threat. And a death threat, I wasn't allowed in certain areas. I couldn't drink in any local bars anymore. I tried to get grabbed a couple of times. So I wasn't allowed in any bar. I was physically told to get out of them when I went into them. So my name was out there. Everybody was aware of what I was doing. And your world just starts to get smaller. And the drinking and drugs just started to stop working for me. So the confidence it gave me, the ego it gave me, the Jack the Lad stuff that it gave me, all that stuff starts to go away, and it ends up just me and the drug. Most of the time sitting on my own, and with no one else, no one half the time, or psychosis kicking in, constantly feeling paranoid, constantly letting people down, fed up making the same empty promises over and over and over again. And then the thing that broke, the straw with the camel's back was the very last time that I just split up with my missus again. Another relationship ruined. Again, I was emotionless, didn't really give a lost the relationship. Pretended I didn't anyway, obviously, and weeks and months later. I was getting psychosis, so I was constantly paranoid. And I brought a wee fella in my apartment one night, and I locked the wee lad in my apartment one night and tried to take his phones and all off. And in my head, I'd spiraled and thought he was doing all this stuff on me, trying to set me up. And I had watched some family member close to me go through all that stuff for years, and it had been happening to me for the last 3 years sporadically. But over this last year, 2 years, where I was completely using against my will. So as much as I wanted to stop, I couldn't anymore. Yeah. Psychosis was constantly getting a hold of me. I was doubting everybody around me, and to the point where I couldn't be in anybody's company anymore. Do you know what I mean? And it completely isolated me. And I had 2 options then. The way I looked at it, 2 options: suicide, because that was the thought process. My thought process in them last 2 years was, if I take enough drugs here, I'll pass out. You know what I mean? So I'll pass out and die, and then I don't have to wake up anymore. But not physically trying to kill yourself, but really not
like knowing that that's an outcome.
Knowing that's an outcome and potentially trying to get there. Do you know what I mean? So that's what my thoughts are. I wasn't out there to kill myself, but discreetly I wanted to kill myself. Right, okay. If that makes sense. Right. If I do this enough, no one will know that I'm killing myself here. You know what I mean? And that's the way it was. So that very last night I used the guilt and shame. Somebody close to me I'd watched for years going through psychosis, and I was on the receiving end of that he blamed me and thought, and I was really, me and him were really, really close. He's a family member, me and him were really, really close, and I always got the blunt of it, and I couldn't understand it, but obviously we're making through it myself. I then knew that I was exactly the way he was treated me for a couple of years previous, and I was like, for me, that was when I knew. I said, I promised myself that I would never be like this. Yeah. And there I am. This is the way I am. And I cried myself to sleep, as I did many, many nights. But that night, the pain was enough that I either kill myself that night. And that's just hard to say. I either took my own life that night, or I got up and get help the next day. And at that stage, it bumped into... Right. At that stage, it happened to bump into the fella I train with. He happened to lose his license, and I always share this because things happen for a reason. That guy lost his license, and if he hadn't lost his license, I would never have picked him up.
Yeah.
And by picking him up, it allowed me to ask him questions. My first question to most people was, did you ever take drugs? And his answer was he used to. And I was like, what do you mean you used to? How did you stop? And from there then he told me that he goes to a place and gets help, and I was aware. So 3 months, the last 3 months when I was using, I was aware of that group he spoke about, but I wasn't brave enough and I wasn't hurt enough. I didn't have enough pain to go and to get it. But that last time that I used, because I was aware of it and because I kept telling him for months previous that I was going to go, that was it. That was the breaking point where I couldn't go any further. If I had to live another day, the way I was living, I was going to tell myself I just couldn't go. I just couldn't go there.
Yeah.
And I got up, regardless of how I felt, I had to push through it, because if I didn't go there and then, I was never going to reach out. I was never going to get help. And I got up and I went to a meeting, and the meeting that night was, it was really, really special to me, because where I was, I just sat in the corner and I just cried. I'm a real emotional person anyway, and I just sat in that room that night. I cried. I was hopeless, and I didn't think it could ever change my life, because gradually everything was slipping away on me. And that night there was a big convention and all was on in Belfast, and there's loads of Americans there, and the Americans are really over the top, but that night it was really what I needed. They came in and they just filled me full of hope. They filled me full of hope and told me that I could change, and directed everything to me and told me, because I was a shell of a man, you know what I mean? And obviously seen that and just directed everything to me. And I came out there feeling like the weight that I carried my whole life was gradually lifting.
Yeah.
And it gave me that freedom for a couple of days where I was like, what is this? And from there, I religiously went to meetings every single day for well over a year and a half. Or I done a Zoom call at 7 o'clock in the morning. And this is how willing and how desperate I was to change my life, because I knew that the pain of living was worse than the pain of using drugs as well. Well, no, the pain of using was worse than the pain of living. So I couldn't live like that. And I put my whole heart and soul. I've never finished anything, Johnny, in my life. I've never put courses, paid thousands of pounds for courses, never finished them. School, tech, everything, football career, I never finished anything properly. And the only thing I've ever stuck to in my life was this. And it served me. It served me to this day. I've been coming up to 9. Well, I was 18 months clean there, just when you seen the post that I put up. And I don't know what my purpose is. If you had told me 2 years ago that I'd be sitting here telling this story, getting emotional on camera, I'd have laughed at your face, because I was never strong enough. I was never brave enough. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't help anybody. Yeah. How can I help anybody? If I'm in pain, how can I help anybody else? Do you know what I mean? And today I'm able to. Today I'm able to cry. I'm able to show emotion, and I feel every bit of emotion I'm showing, and it hurt. It's painful for me to look back here, but I know where I am now in my life. Do you know what I mean? And it's been hard work, but the support, opening my mouth and just getting proper help, having people beside you who's championing along all the time, regardless of what the issue is. There's no problem in life that I know I can't deal with today, and that's the biggest thing. Everyday life was a struggle to me for years. Everyday life was a struggle, and today I feel like I have a freedom. I feel like I'm starting to live again. I feel like life's becoming good. Do you know what I mean? I've experienced the love of my kids and all again. I'm able to love them as 100% more. They don't feel the need. They don't feel like their dad's letting them down anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's all I can do today. Just try and do my best. Do you know what I mean? And even the posts, sometimes the posts that I put up on social media about, I'm always conscious of putting that up, because I would never want people to think he's only doing that for attention, because I was that person who did need that attention. Yeah. But that's not about me no more. No. Do you know what I mean? There's people out there who struggle and who maybe aren't willing or don't know how to go and get the help. Do you know what I mean?
It's also very hard for people to actually get to the stage where they feel comfortable, because this is all new to me. This is something that I never knew what I was doing. I've come in, I've cried twice now, Karma. Thanks very much. So,
Why, John?
you're all right. But I love these conversations. I mean, so whenever you consider all the stuff that you've been through and you look back and then you look at other people's lives, where you are now, mate, it's incredible. And being able to post that to help people, it's massive. Especially being for where you were, having the career that you started off, having the ups and downs.
Yep.
It's nothing but positivity. People need that.
Yeah.
So you have to continue to do that for, it's not just you anymore. Yeah. It's everybody else.
I think having that life experience, like the people who have reached out to me and that I helped today, and it gives them a place, I think, to see, like, this story here, what my life was like. Like, a year ago, I had a death threat still over my head. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't go to a shop probably without looking over my shoulder. Today, I'm not like that. You know what I mean? I freely help people who are in drug addiction. I try my best. I just done a mental health first aid course to get a better understanding of how to approach people in my workplace, but it'll be something that I'll be using outside of work. Do you know what I mean? And I think when people see somebody who's lived that life and been able to change, it gives them hope. Yeah. Because there's people are like,
been through it, done it, came out the other end.
And I was that person. I was hopeless at one stage. Do you know what I mean? And all it takes is somebody like that spark, any.
See when you're talking about this, so it's from the outside looking in. What's the process like when you go in? I know we've went on for a while, but for me to truly understand the process that it takes for you, I know you saying like it's maybe like a 12-step thing. Does that just consist of you going into like a meeting? Does that consist of you being online? Is that talking to somebody? Like how does that work?
Well, it'll start off with you just getting that first meeting, like, because it's a big, massive thing. If you think about somebody who's isolating himself for so long, just to get to that meeting, right? And as soon as he gets to that meeting, as soon as you hear people speaking, there's so much that you can identify with. Because if, like, another addict will be able to listen to me talking and go, that's exactly what I was doing. That's how I was feeling. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? As soon as he identifies with that, he'll open up and listen. Once he's listening, then all he has to do, he'll hear something that keeps coming back. It keeps him coming back. That's all. And see from there, bang, meetings. Your focus is just to stay clean. Open up, which is probably hard. It was hard for me to start. Get numbers, speak to people. And I always say this, even if people aren't in addiction, find a group, a running group, social group, any sort of group that you're comfortable with. Find your people and people who are on your level and are going through the same stuff, and speak to them openly. Yeah. The connection is one of the biggest things that I've realised has got me through this. So without bouncing all the wee stuff that I'm going through on a normal day, I would never get through it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would always run to that same substance that I felt was keeping me safe. Do you know what I mean? I would always run back there. But today, my fix is connection with other people, nature, sport, training. Do you know what I mean? All that stuff is good for you, rather and like, people will gauge you when you go to these places. People will gauge you step by step. You don't have to do anything, only show up, stay clean, and answer the phone. Yeah. And from there, people will gauge you, regardless of what direction you feel like you're going. But then again, it's on to the person to be willing. How much pain have they had? Are they willing? Are they willing? Or have they had enough pain, to be willing to change? Because it doesn't change, Johnny, straight away. It took me nearly, I would say, 16 months for me to really feel like I had complete freedom and I was living again. And that's how long it took. And that was me consistently doing meetings every day for a year, Zoom calls at 7 a.m. in the morning, journaling, meditation, all that stuff, praying. You know what I mean? I pray now. Something I've never thought about ever doing. Just becoming open-minded. You do what suits you and your needs and what's going to make you better. You do it. You know what I mean? And people will be there ahead of you who just gauge you and carry you along, regardless of what you're going through. They have somebody in the rooms will have experienced it or lived it already before you.
Since all this has happened, obviously you've went to these meetings, mate. You've became sober, which is incredible. But you're back playing, which is one of the positive things. Yeah, you're playing for Lisburn Rangers.
Lisburn Rangers, aye. You know, I missed a good. Still before Sinky, Keith Sinclair is the manager of Lisburn Rangers, and Sinky, believe it or not, in the last 6 days that I'd used, Sinky was on the phone to me every day. Sinky used to be an ex-addict.
Right.
who's now Christian, doesn't use, obviously, he knew what I was going through. He suffered psychosis and all. Didn't know me on a personal level because it was nearly 14 weeks into the season and I wasn't really went in for him. But he kept phoning me every day and he kept saying, and I promised him on the phone that I was going to get help. Because I had it in my head that I was going to get help once I come off that bender.
Yeah.
And he phoned me every single day and then to a point where I told him I was getting up the next day. I was getting up and I was going to get help. And he was like, right, make sure you do go. And there in early days, when I was going to the matches, putting his arm around me. Me and him were really, really close. Like, do you know what I mean? I can open up and speak to him about everything. And he was making sure I didn't go to a bar. He didn't have to really make me, but just kept an eye on me. How are you feeling today? You all right? No. Because it only takes you to feel...
Wanted that relationship with somebody who, as you say, identifies it.
If you're coming away from the drink, it only takes you to feel down for that maybe day and a wee split second to go, right, is that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, for me not getting into the bar and stuff like that, he would have kept an eye, how are you feeling? Walked me down the car at times and all stuff like that. And believe it or not, last year I really, really enjoyed the football, loved playing, and then in the pre-season again, flying. Like I was saying about my training, I was 72 kilo in the summer, and I was made 37. I was ripped to shreds still.
Ready to go again.
72 kilo.
Cheese board again.
I happened to pick up an injury at the my own player tackled me, believe it or not, in the last game of pre-season, I think it was, and done my shoulder, came back for one game, done my ankle. And to be honest, John, I was thinking this year, because of where my life was going, I was like, do I really need it? Do you know what I mean? Because it was causing me pain trying to get back. I wasn't ready to give it up yet.
Okay.
So it was causing me pain. And when I let go and stopped pushing myself so hard, the injury went away on its own.
Yeah. And
eventually get back for the last 5 or 6 games in April. Only for Shinky phoning me and saying, listen, we need you here. You're missed around the change room. My boys all want you here, you know what I mean? And I was like, right, I'll go. The team won the league undefeated.
Yeah.
Undefeated for a full season, which is
unbelievable.
Like, regardless of what level you're
like Arsenal there.
Invincibles, you know what I mean? Regardless of what level you're playing at, like that's an achievement in itself. Teams at any level don't go undefeated. Do you know what I mean? So he went undefeated, and again, getting back, I felt good there, and he wants me to come back and play again next year. And it's
still life in them legs yet.
Do you know what? I'm going to try and go back and play. Yeah, I'm going to try and go back and play. But I think, like I said, I feel like I'm starting, in the last 2 or 3 months, just Johnny, I feel like I'm starting to frame myself. If you'd asked me 4 or 5 months ago to do this, I probably would have been too nervous, too anxious, and I wouldn't have been able to. But where I'm at in the last 3 or 4 months, things have changed. Because it's in recovery, you just grow all the time. And I feel like I'm becoming who I was supposed to be. Yeah. Before all the shit that's done, you know what I mean? I'm starting to frame myself, and I feel like coaching is probably going to be something that I would like to dabble into. Do you know what I mean? If Sankey next year doesn't do it, I'll probably sign for a club or even play and try and get some sort of coaching badges. I'm just saying that out loud because football's the only thing that I've ever loved, and I lost the love for it for so long. Yeah. Considering where I was, what I went through, and how much confidence affected me in my playing career, I think I've far too much to just let be. Because I was a different type of footballer. I think I see things differently from other managers and all too. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I think I would have a lot to give her. It's just something for me now that I made, because again, it's helping people.
It's working towards something too. Do you know what I mean? It's
helping people as well. Do you know what I mean? And I have this thing where I like helping people. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It makes me feel good when I help others.
100%, it does.
So if coaching them, that's down the pipeline. Hopefully, if it comes, if the opportunity comes in, I'll probably try and take the badges or something on, or just go down that road as well. But
well, you talk about helping others there, so just with being on the podcast, mate, I get to do a wee bit of research, so that involves me torturing people throughout the week, trying to get things, and it happens to be that Jared Liam McMullen is a good mate of mine. Yeah, so he plays with you at Lisburn.
Jared McMullen.
So because of you, take on there. He's sober.
That's the thing about getting clean, and I even forgot about this too. It affects more than just me. Yeah. Jared McMullen, I've always felt in a change room, the players younger had this sort of respect for me. Do you know what I mean? And at times it used to be because I had money, cars, women, all that stuff, all that shit stuff. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. Right. But people respect me in change rooms and always have done. Even Davey as managers, Brazzy, like, God rest them, and people always had this endearment to me. Do you know what I mean? And Ger McMullen, he was suffering. Ger was suffering without knowing it. Without knowing it, Ger was suffering, and I went on a holiday, Ravens.
Literally, you stayed sober.
End the season trip, and I stayed sober. And the purpose of me staying sober, Ger McMullen opened up a bit and asked questions that I asked, and Ger came home from that holiday and has stayed clean since. My brother above me, I have to mention him because at the same time, when I get clean, he isn't working the programme, he isn't doing meetings or anything, but he's still clean. Do you know what I mean? His life is 100 times better than what it was. And he was a similar boat to me. He was an addict. Drugs took over his life.
Yeah.
And his kids were falling out or weren't speaking to him. I hope he doesn't make me saying that, but he's changed his life around. And just for me, changing my life, ineffectively, it helps.
Yeah.
Branches
Well, he's 11 months.
very brilliant. Jared, 11 months.
Because of you.
And at the start, I used to give him all week my clean tag. So obviously I have a clean tag, and I was 18 months or so. Jared would have been a bit behind me, and I'd have brought them in and given to him.
Yeah.
Jokingly, but Jared's doing brilliant. You know what I mean? And Jared, I know how hard it is. You know what I mean? And I know how much Jared depended on it too. And to see him doing it, to see my brother doing it, to see anybody else doing it, it fucking lights my heart up. You know what I mean? I see people doing well. It's brilliant for me to see. Do you know what I mean?
Well, these are the experiences. I think the fact that you've been through it all, you've had a career. All right, probably not the career that you probably could have fulfilled or lived up to, but everything that you went through, mate, you probably went through it, as you say, for a reason.
100%.
And how many people are being helped because of it?
I do believe that if I didn't go through them stages of pain, constant pain, I would never have changed. So, I mean, I'd have been stuck in the same cycle, and I'd have still had the same perception of life. My perception was that I was never going to amount to anything.
Yeah.
That I was no good to nobody. Nobody wanted me around them. Unless I had this, and this, nobody wanted me, you know what I mean? And to live in that dark cloud your whole life, it's hard, Johnny. It's hard to constantly feel like no matter what you do, it's just never enough. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And today, my life is so simple. I'll go to work, I come home and take my kids, my daughter's now living with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, how much of a blessing is that for my daughter to be able to need me that much, to see wants to come and live with me?
Great.
2 years ago, it wouldn't have been possible. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't have been possible at all. And listen, even the relationships that have broke, that have failed on me, they've all failed for a reason, because the one I'm in now is the best one I've ever been in.
Yeah.
And I'm the best person I've ever been in a relationship. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And to be able to say I probably love that girl more than I've ever been able to love anybody, because I was incapable of loving. Do you know what I mean? And like, she can have the best of me today, and she has her own kids, and like, I can be there for her kids, not as a daddy, but be there as a figure. A figure. Do you know what I mean? And that's the blessings that recovery gives you. Recovery gives you all these things that people in society sometimes don't value, like a loving relationship with your kids. Like, I didn't value it, you know what I mean? I was incapable of looking at that stuff, and they are the most valuable things for me in life today. You know what I mean? Making sure that people around me are okay, and they're not worried about me, and I can be there to help them when they need me. Do you know what I mean? It's what a blessing that is.
Mate, I think we should probably finish it there because it's so positive. So, thank you.
It's
incredible. Your story's incredible.
Sorry for tearing you off.
Well,
mate,
it's one of
thank you, John. It was absolutely privileged to be here, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
You're a legend, mate, and I'm proud of you, alright?
Thank you, mate. Here's a hug. We do hugs, mate. Keep on, Johnny. Thank you.
Alright, dude. Join me next week on the On The Spot Football podcast for another emotional, unbelievable story with another guest. But a big thank you to everybody involved today, and Aaron for sharing the story.
Thank you, John.
See you all next week.